Notice all these guys have hats. Most of them have a neck cover. One of them even has face covering. Because that sun is no joke. These guys know. Notice they're all wearing long sleeves. I want to catch the one guy with the face covering. This guy with the red shirt, he's even got face covering so his cheeks don't get burned. Long sleeves, hat, gloves, neck covering, and even face covering. This guy's got the full face covering around his cheeks and stuff. If he'd turn around and show us. So just so you know, don't try to be a tough guy. That sun's a lot tougher than any of you or me. All these guys, same thing. Oh, one guy's wearing short sleeves, but they all got the hat, the neck coverings. The other thing is just a form of denial, cognitive dissonance and normalcy bias. Normalcy bias is the belief that today will be just like yesterday and tomorrow will be just like today. Sorry, I'm trying to get the folks in. Come on, lock in. And people can't believe that in one lifetime the sun has changed. Because it's 93 million miles away and 70 billion years old, it couldn't possibly change in one lifetime. Yes, in our lifetimes it has changed. And it used to be the people that said they thought the sun was hotter than it used to be were crazy people. And that's why people are still reluctant to accept that that is the case. It has gone from a yellow sun to a white sun, which is along the spectrum of heat. We won't get into that. Just know that sun isn't what it used to be. And yes, it has changed that dramatically in one lifetime. And it's going to continue to do so. One lie is a lie of scale. There's a lie of omission, a lie of commission, a lie of scale. And many of the lies that we've been told are lies of scale. Like how long we've been here, how far back human history goes, etc., etc. So I have a friend in Pittsburgh just the other day who said he felt nauseous and even emotionally unstable, and as soon as they started spraying, he felt better. I showed you in a recent video where Mr. MB3 6 years ago put out the video showing exactly how the solar radiation mitigation program works by emitting nanoparticles that are actually small microchips, or there's some sort of conductor that somehow grounds and deflects the radiation. But that's only giving us a little bit of protection. So I also took a photograph of these little tents that are 6 foot by 6 foot by 8 foot at Walmart that are $40. You might want to invest in one and pack it around with you. Put it over you and move it along on the job site as you move. One thing that me and Parker and Fernando talked about the other day during our brief conversation when Parker took the Lobe Squeeze Challenge is these purple and green clouds. And when I first showed Fernando and Shane a purple and green cloud visible to the naked eye without sunglasses, Fernando went, "Oh, wow, I've never seen nothing like that before." During that brief discussion, we talked about how you can see them all the time, every day, within the proximity of the sun. If the sun's right here in the middle, there's a circle around the sun where if you put on sunglasses, you can see purple and green clouds. That's because our magnetic field has disappeared to the point where those types of clouds are typically only visible in the Arctic Circle, along with UVC readings at ground level. These are measurable parameters by which you can prove that we are receiving solar radiation unlike anything we have ever experienced before. In one lifetime, UVC readings used to be 0 at ground level, except in the Arctic Circle. And that's what Mr. MB3 showed you for the first few years, that he showed you the UV readings. Then, last year, he didn't show UV readings, he showed the genetic mutation of the plants. Strawberries that are emitting the leaves right out the berry, along with sunflowers that are emitting leaves right out where the seeds come out. Clovers that aren't just 4-leaf clovers, 5, 6-leaf clovers the size of your palm, and many of them on the ground right where they sit, still growing, proving that someone didn't collect a bunch of these randomly from spread out throughout a long distance. There are many genetic mutations happening right now from that increased radiation. Maybe we'll be X-Men. But until then, protect yourself from the sun and know that it is hotter and emitting more radiation than it ever has. And don't be afraid to look foolish in front of these tough guys that are like, what, it's just a little sun? Because they are the fools. I will include the links in the description of Mr. MBB333's video from 6 years ago, where he shows you that these nanoparticles, little micro robots made out of copper and aluminum, dispersed in the atmosphere, that they have dispersed, accepting the collateral damage they will cause when they fall to the ground, are to protect you from solar radiation. Essentially, that makes remote control clouds when you use electromagnetics to push and pull them. I showed you the clouds aligned in a magnetic field, an artificial magnetic field being produced over certain areas to protect you from that solar radiation. I showed you this in one of my most recent videos. I've shown you the glitter that comes out of the burned trees. When I scrub them with water in a scrubby, you can see metallic glitter. I'm not gonna go fish up that one. I've made that video a couple times, and I've got hundreds of videos, and it would take me a while to find it. Well, Mr. MB3 has thousands of videos. And for the one from 6 years ago to come across my feed a month or two ago is how and why I believe that these things don't happen by chance. It would have taken me a long time to find that video from Mr. MB3, but what that also shows you is that Mr. MB3 knows a lot more than he's telling. That's why people call him a gatekeeper. And more recently, they say he's engaged in soft disclosure because he's moved on from sky phenomenon to UFOs in almost every video. And he also shows you these colorful clouds in the proximity of the sun. That's his quote. He's the one that shows you UVC readings at ground level and tells you those should be 0 at ground level other than the Arctic Circle. But he says it in such a nonchalant, casual, happy voice. He says it in such a nonchalant, casual, and happy voice in order to not cause panic and fear, because that fear and panic would be destructive to our society. Now, we've reached something near 0 point, like what was introduced into my knowledge 20 years ago by Greg Braden, Awakening to 0 Point and Beyond 0 Point, the Collective Initiation. And the reason I mentioned that this is an MB3 video from 6 years ago that was introduced into my feed a month or two ago is because the algorithm, just like in the movie Code 46, where they have a saying, the Sphinx knows best, they're referring to an AI algorithm that issues papels, passport, papers, and it decides who gets travel and who doesn't. In that movie, Code 46, the sun had become so hot, they conduct business at night and run indoors during the day to escape the sun's powerful, overwhelming heat. and radiation. A couple of years ago, I would have been just like Richie from Boston saying, screw Mr. MB3, he's a shill, he never talks about chemtrails. No, 6 years ago, he told you exactly what it was. He doesn't bang on about it every day because he knows more parts to the bigger picture. People that don't know those more parts to the bigger picture go on like Richie from Boston. They're trying to kill us with the chemtrails. And this is why James True had that show where he talked about the slee stack and Chaka. And how Chaka thinks no one wants Chaka to grow. No one wants Chaka to thrive. Everyone's out to get Chaka. Only once you start to realize not everyone's out to get you, will you be given more pieces of the puzzle. And I've said before, as a truther who's spent 20 years collecting data points, it was once I embraced God that those data points were rearranged into a dot-to-dot picture that makes more sense. Until then, they're just data points in random, chaotic mess inside your worldview, where you think everyone's out to get you and kill you with chemtrails. So my dad once said, when I referenced aluminum, barium, and strontium, he was just talking about the aluminum. I said it's associated with Alzheimer's. He said, yeah, but only mildly. Like these old timers that used to make their coffee and cook on aluminum cookware over the fire. They were all just fine. So aluminum is only mildly associated with Alzheimer's. Contrast that to the solar radiation and radiation sickness that people will experience, and they are balancing the two and saying it's much less damaging to sustain the damage that will be incurred from the aluminum, because Mr. MB3 shows that these particles are made of copper and aluminum. So it is far less damaging to us to get a little bit of aluminum in our diet, in the water, the air, the soil, and even the trees, as I've shown. When the glitter runs down the trees that I scrub, with a black backdrop of the burnt charcoal wood, you can see the glitter reflecting in the sunlight. So yeah, it's inundated our whole world. And these remote control nanoparticles can be used for multiple purposes. But primarily, it's solar radiation mitigation program. And yes, MB3 is an agent. And yes, he is engaged in soft disclosure. And that's why people say he's a shill. Now they just cranked up CERN the other week to a higher level than it's ever been. Simultaneously, that's the same week that Mr. MB3 showed you these magnetic flux lines, where these metallic particles in the clouds align with those magnetic flux lines. Just like if you take iron filings, put them on the top of a piece of paper, and then put a magnet below that piece of paper, those iron filings align with the magnetic flux lines. The same way those clouds with the metallic particles in them align with the magnetic flux lines in the sky. There is a good chance that CERN is actually a magnetic field generator or an ion thruster, but one thing we know for sure is whatever CERN is, the public doesn't know about it. Why? Because they would freak out and panic. So there's good reason for David Bowie putting his finger over his lips saying, shh, keep it quiet. Why? Because, like Trump said, this is the calm before the storm. What storm, Mr. Trump? You'll see. And if they would not have censored my channel 4 years ago when I started producing Plasma Fire videos, it would have been the end of the world as we knew it then. And that would have been the end of the calm before the storm. But by making sure this information only gets out to certain people who can handle the truth, they have prolonged the calm before the storm. So there's a reason Mr. MB3 gives it in drips and drabs and drops the breadcrumbs for those who willingly, of their own volition, follow the trail of truth. People who say, he's a shill, I don't watch him, good. People like you are the reason why it would be detrimental to society if we just dump the whole data dump on everyone. There's also a short movie produced by Nova, PBS Nova, called Magnetic Storm. And the song that goes with it is a really beautiful song. If the North wasn't true, would I find my way to you? I'll include these links in the description as a crash course for those who are just getting on board with this information. The movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage, the song All at Once by Jack Johnson, and the song Wake Up by AWOLNATION all pertain to this knowledge base that I'm delivering. In the movie Knowing, at the end, he delivers his children to go on board the spaceships, just like the song After the Gold Rush, which is also relating to this information. But in the movie Knowing, they were taking Mother Nature's silver seed to a new home in the sun, like it says in the song After the Gold Rush, where I was lying in a burnt out basement and the sun burst through the sky and I was hoping for a replacement. And I was thinking of something a friend once said and I was hoping it was a lie. So in the end of the movie Knowing, he delivers his children to get on board these spacecraft and they take them to plant the new Gardens of Eden elsewhere. In the song Wake Up, it says, it's only gonna take a little time before we start to lose our minds. We're leaving all the haters behind before the sun decides to hide. And the song by Jack Johnson, All at Once. The world can overwhelm me. There's almost nothing that you could tell me that could ease my mind. Which way will you run when it's always all around you? And the feeling lost and found you again. The feeling that we have no control. Around the sun, some say it's gonna be the new hell. Some say it's still too early to tell. Some say it really ain't no myth at all. And then it says, then it gets into parts of your character. Keep asking ourselves, are we really strong enough? And there's so many things that we got too proud of. We're too proud of. I want to take the preconceived out from underneath your feet. We can shake it off and instead we'll plant some seeds. Oh, you mean like the children that go to the new Gardens of Eden? Yeah. We can shake it off and instead we'll plant some seeds. Watch them as they grow, and with each new beat from your heart, the roots grow deeper. The branches, will they reach for what? Nobody really knows. But underneath it all, there's this heart alone. And what about when it's gone? Oh, it really won't be so long. Sometimes it feels like a heart is no place to be singing from it all. 'Cause with great knowing comes great sorrow. But there's a world we've never seen. There's still hope between the dreams. And the weight of it all can blow away with the breeze. And if you're waiting on that wind, well, don't forget to breathe. 'Cause as the darkness gets deeper, we'll sink until we reach for love. At least something we can hold. And I'll reach to you from where time just can't go. And what about when it's gone? Oh, it really won't be so long. In the end of the movie Knowing, Nicolas Cage's children say only the people that receive the call get to come with. And then the whole earth is enveloped by fire. That was the final coordinates of the final disaster. Everyone, everywhere. And maybe that's the meaning of the title of the song by Jack Johnson, All at Once. Everyone, everywhere, all at once. Don't you worry, 'cause everybody will die. Another song by AWOLNATION. So come on and fly, fly, baby, let's fly. That says, one day the sun will leave us all behind. Unexplainable sightings in the sky. And I hate to be the one to ruin the night. right before your eyes. I say you kill your heroes and fly, fly, baby, let's fly. No need to worry, 'cause everybody will die. Go, 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 you just go, go, baby, don't go. And don't you worry, we love you more than you know. And that song is talking about finding the hero in you. Those are the qualities of character that get to come with. Yes, it's mostly children, blank slates, but they need fully adult humans that have been through an entire lifetime here on this planet, not just blank slates. And those humans that get to come with are of a culture of consciousness that is of the highest degree. See, wisdom doesn't come with age, nor does maturity. It comes with effort, based on your underlying principles and your priorities. The self-initiated, that's who comes with, that's who receives the calling. There's of course also the song Burn It Down by AWOLNATION, which is referring to Judgment Day in that courtroom. And the song The End by The Doors. And this is the end of our elaborate plans, my friend. And can you picture what will be so limitless and free? Desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land. So, maybe call out to God and ask to be a tool in His hand to try to soften the blow for everyone around you. Not necessarily that you might be able to come with, but to be able to be a servant of your fellow humankind to soften the blow and spreading the truth, the likes of which I've come to understand, to everybody would make it increase the hardship on everybody. During this transition, it would be the end of the calm before the storm. And so many other songs also make sense within this context and do not make sense to the average listener in any other context, like Sail Away With Me starts out by David Gray. Sail away. Crazy skies all wild above me now. Wind a-howling at my face. When everything I held so dear disappeared without a trace. And all the times I tasted love, never knew quite what I had. Little darling, if you hear me now, never needed you so bad. Spinning round inside my head. So sail away with me, and what will be, will be. I wanna hold you now. And I don't give a shit if my voice is raspy. To the people that say recite the lyrics instead of sing it, you don't get how this works. You need that rhythm and that beat and that frequency to even recall the lyrics and recite them. Sail by AWOLNATION. This is how I show my love. This is how an angel cries. And all the times you tasted love but never knew quite what you had was a golden ticket that you forfeit. And Smash Mouth, you might as well be walking on the sun. Shows what your priorities are when you're criticizing my singing while I'm delivering you this epic truth. So you, my friend, might as well be walking on the sun. So don't delay, act now, supplies are running out. Allow if you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive. And if you follow, there may be a tomorrow, but if the offer's shunned, you might as well be walking on the sun. And what's it say at the end of the song with Jim Morrison? It hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me. So, meet me on the back of the blue bus and just ask, driver, where you taking us? Because back here, as that magnetic field disappears, all the children are insane, waiting on that summer rain. And it's only gonna take a little time before we start to lose our minds. So the correlation between the lyrics, all the times I tasted love, never knew quite what I had. Why? Because we are now leaving all the haters behind. And that's in the song by Jason Mraz. Why should we pick ourselves up and start over again? There's only one answer that matters. Even if your heart and your dreams have been shattered, love is still the answer. This consciousness farm has been cultivating consciousness of love. And that's why we're leaving all the haters behind. That's why love is still the answer. That's why all the times you tasted love, you never knew quite what you had. That was your golden ticket. The movie 2012, where they're all taking off on these ships, and Woody Harrelson's standing out there on the mountaintop in his RV saying, "Bring it, baby." Those ships are already in the sky. The CEO exodus happened for a reason. And what you think are Starlink satellites flying overhead are not satellites. And in the end of that movie, 2012, there was a lot more people who thought they were going to get a ticket to ride that didn't get on those ships. But he's got a ticket to ride, so he don't care. I've been talking drunk and gibberish, falling in and out of bars, trying to get some explanation here about the way some people are. How did it ever come so far? So sail away with me, and what will be, will be. So sail away, sail away, sail away, and get sale way, sale way, sale way. That's Spanish. Sale means you ready? Way, güey is a term of endearment. It technically means bull in Spanish. Porque yo soy café adentro en mi corazón, solo blanco afuera. I'm brown on the inside in my heart, only white on the outside, on my skin. This relates to the last shall be first and the first shall be last. In our world, white people have much more prosperity and material wealth, and they have lost their value of community and family and friends. In brown countries, they still have a lot more value that they place on community and family and friends and human relationships. That's why I have such a deep and profound respect and appreciation and admiration for brown people over white people. That's why they've demonized communism and anything that serves a collective and conditioned you to capitalism. Dog eat dog, kill or be killed, survival of the fittest, maximize your profit margin by giving less and taking more in each transaction. And they told you, lay not, sorry, the focus went out of focus. They told you, lay not treasures for yourself here upon the earth, where moth and rust and plasma doth corrupt, but in heaven. And you knew what that meant, but you chose to forfeit that in favor of material wealth. So that means there's going to be a lot more brown people make it through the filter than white people. That's just how it is. Which brings us full circle back to the beginning of this video, where the people you saw out there slaving away in the sun were brown people who've been relegated to those positions in our country. And it also said in the Bible, we will meet them in the clouds. We always assumed that just meant heaven, general terminology for heaven up there in the sky. But it appears as if the clouds have come down to us. And this happens every time. Like Chicken Little said, sky is falling, the sky is falling. And the intro song in James True's video, this happens every time. Heaven is falling down. Because it's a cycle that happens a lot more often than we are led to believe. And that's how it is a lie of scale. And because we're told there's 7 billion people on the earth, we think, well, I couldn't possibly do anything. I have no power or influence. And because we're told that it's over the long scale of hundreds of thousands of years, we think, well, nothing could possibly change in my lifetime. You might have noticed those clouds have gotten a lot lower and a lot closer than they used to be. And it's not about melanin in your skin, it's about love in your heart. Even as a brown person, you can choose to pursue selfish pursuits and get ahead at the expense of others. And even in a white, prosperous, material wealth country, you can choose to prioritize the value of personal relationships over your personal wealth. I wrote it in essays that I wrote over 20 years ago that we cannot be an island of prosperity within a sea of despair, that this is an unsustainable way of life. And so it has come to pass that we are going to see the great equalizer. We will all receive our just rewards. Sale way, sale way, sale way.